Life can feel like a battlefield, and not all wounds are visible. Some of the deepest cuts come from people we trust, those who make promises that vanish into thin air, those who leave you standing alone when storms rage, or those who manipulate your kindness to serve their own needs. The emotional weight of these betrayals can quietly drain your spirit, eroding your self-respect and inner peace. But here's the truth. The actions of others are beyond your control. What lies firmly in your hands is how you respond. In this video, we dive into 7 subtle, corrosive behaviors, ones that seem small in isolation, but together can destroy your sense of self. Recognizing these patterns isn't about casting blame or building resentment. It's about learning how to protect your peace, set firm boundaries, and reclaim your energy. Stoicism teaches us that wisdom is the armor that shields us from the whims of others, helping us stand unshaken amidst the chaos. Stay with me until the end, because each insight we uncover could be the key to freeing yourself from relationships that drain instead of uplift. Watch closely. Reflect on where you've seen these patterns in your own life, and most importantly, let us know which of these resonated with you in the comments. And if this journey towards self-mastery speaks to you, subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. Together, we'll walk the Stoic path, calm, deliberate, and steadfast. Number 1. Broken promises. What can you rely on when the ground beneath your feet keeps shifting? Imagine this. A close friend approaches you in a moment of need, asking to borrow money. Perhaps their car broke down, or they're facing a sudden expense they can't cover. You don't think twice. You trust them, and you offer the loan without hesitation. "I'll pay you back next week," they say, smiling with gratitude. But when that week comes and goes, the money doesn't appear. You remind them gently, only to hear excuses, delays, or worse, silence. Weeks turn into months, and soon the friendship feels heavy with unspoken tension. We've all been there, left in the wake of broken promises, wrestling with disappointment. And it's not just about the money, it's the betrayal of trust that stings the most. A promise, like a handshake, is a bond. When it's broken, it leaves a crack not just in the relationship, but in your sense of security. This is where Stoicism steps in, offering clarity in moments of disillusionment. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control our responses. The Roman philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. A broken promise tests your resolve. Will you spiral into anger and resentment, or will you see it for what it truly is? An opportunity to strengthen your independence and detach from expectations beyond your control. When promises are broken, the natural reaction is to feel hurt, even angry. But lingering on those emotions is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Stoicism encourages us to shift our focus inward, toward what lies within our control. You cannot force someone to return the money, but you can control how you interpret their actions. Was the promise broken because they genuinely couldn't repay it, or was it never a priority to them? Understanding this distinction can help you avoid placing your trust where it doesn't belong in the future. Think about this. Every broken promise is a lesson in setting boundaries. If a friend repeatedly fails to follow through, the lesson isn't about giving them more chances. It's about recognizing where your energy and trust should go. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, advises us to waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. When others falter, your task isn't to fix them. It's to remain steadfast in your own integrity. Their actions are a reflection of their character, not yours. Now, what can you do the next time someone's words crumble under the weight of reality? Here's a practical approach. Instead of reacting with anger or disappointment, treat it as data. Every broken promise is information. Information about who this person is and whether they deserve a place in your inner circle. With this mindset, you are no longer a victim of their unreliability. You are a deliberate observer, adjusting your expectations and actions based on reality, not hope. This isn't about shutting people out or becoming cynical. It's about recalibrating your relationships with wisdom. If you find yourself dealing with chronic promise breakers, it may be time to shift the relationship dynamic. You can still engage with them, but do so without relying on their commitments. This creates a buffer between their actions and your inner peace. Like wearing armor in a storm, you remain protected from the unpredictable winds of human behavior. In practice, this means establishing clearer expectations. Instead of taking every promise at face value, confirm actions, not words. And when someone breaks a promise, let it be a reminder, not a source of resentment. Choose to respond with grace rather than bitterness, understanding that the fault lies not with you, but with their inconsistency. As you move forward, remember this: life is too short to wait on shaky promises. Choose your companions wisely and build your peace on foundations that no one else can shake. Your energy is precious. Spend it on those who honor their word, and let the rest fade into the background noise of life. Broken promises can leave scars, but they also offer freedom. A chance to let go of misplaced expectations and align your life with reality. And in that alignment, you find peace. Number 2, ignoring your needs. How do you feel when you're rowing the boat alone, only to realize someone else is holding the oars and pretending they've been rowing the entire time? Meet Sarah. She's a dedicated employee at a fast-paced consulting firm, known for her reliability and willingness to help others. Sarah was assigned to a high-profile project along with her colleague David. The responsibilities were clear. Both of them needed to carry their weight to meet the tight deadline. But as the weeks passed, it became obvious that David wasn't pulling his weight. He missed meetings, delayed his tasks, and left critical parts of the project unfinished. With the deadline looming, Sarah felt she had no choice. She took on David's responsibilities to ensure the project wouldn't fall apart. Day after day, she stayed late at the office, missing dinner with her family. She even canceled a 5-day vacation she'd been looking forward to, just to meet the final deadline. The project succeeded, largely thanks to Sarah's extra effort. Then came the celebration. Management praised the team's success, and David accepted the congratulations with a big smile, as if he had been there every step of the way. Not once did he mention Sarah's sacrifices, nor did he acknowledge the workload she took on to make up for his absence. It was as if her contributions didn't exist, her hard work swallowed up by the team's collective success. It's easy to see how situations like these can feel disheartening, draining your energy and morale. But here's where Stoicism offers Sarah, and anyone in her position, a way forward. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stoicism teaches us that while others' actions are beyond our control, how we respond to them is entirely within our power. David's behavior may be disappointing, but Sarah's worth is not tied to his acknowledgement or lack thereof. The lesson here is that validation must come from within. Sarah must ask herself, did I act with integrity? Did I give my best, even when others did not? If the answer is yes, then she has already succeeded, regardless of who gets the credit. Holding on to resentment will only burden her further. It's like carrying a heavy bag filled with stones someone else left behind. This doesn't mean Sarah should continue to accept such behavior. Stoicism also teaches the importance of setting boundaries, not as a form of punishment, but as a way to protect your peace. In her next project, Sarah can set clear expectations from the start. She doesn't need to take on others' work out of fear that things will fall apart. If someone like David fails to do their part, it's okay to let those consequences play out naturally. Management needs to see who contributes and who doesn't. In the future, Sarah can use this experience as a reminder, not a burden. If she encounters another David, she can choose not to take on their responsibilities and guard her time and energy. She can find fulfillment in doing her best work, not in chasing recognition that isn't freely given. At the end of the day, life is too short to spend it filling other people's gaps while sacrificing your own peace. Sarah's energy is precious, and she must learn to invest it where it's valued. Stoicism reminds us that true fulfillment comes from knowing we've acted with integrity, no matter how others behave. Number 3, disrespectful remarks. How do you react when someone's words weigh your worth against someone else's success? Imagine this. You're sitting around the dinner table at a family gathering, surrounded by the usual chatter and clinking of dishes. Everyone is sharing stories about their lives, work, kids, new plans. As you take a bite of your meal, one of your cousins turns to you with a smile that feels just a bit too sharp. "You know," they say, "it's great that you're doing well, but have you heard about another cousin of ours?" They're already managing their own team now. Hard to believe you two were in the same class back in the day. The room falls quiet for a moment as everyone absorbs the comparison, and you feel the invisible weight settle on your shoulders. It's not just the words, it's the message behind them. The remark isn't really about celebrating someone else's success. It's a subtle way of suggesting that whatever you've achieved somehow doesn't measure up. And just like that, the joy you felt about your own progress starts to waver. It's like someone pulling a thread from a perfectly woven sweater, unraveling the sense of pride you'd built. We've all been there, reduced to a comparison that serves only to diminish, not uplift. Remarks like these often come from those closest to us, under the guise of conversation or concern. They remind us of Epictetus's teaching. When someone criticizes you, remember, you are not troubled by what they say, but by your opinion of what they say. The truth is, the comment only stings if you accept it as truth. Stoicism invites us to step back and see these moments for what they are. Reflections of someone else's mindset, not your reality. When you face comparisons like this, the first challenge is not to let it feed your insecurities. It's easy to fall into the mental trap of questioning yourself. Should I be further along? Am I falling behind? But these thoughts are like waves. They only grow if you let them. Stoicism teaches us to stay anchored in what matters: the effort we put in, the values we uphold, and the growth we cultivate, regardless of how others perceive it. So, how do you respond when a family member compares your journey to someone else's? The Stoic approach isn't about snapping back or trying to justify yourself. It's about staying rooted in your own path. Take a breath. Let the comment pass like wind through an open window and remind yourself, my worth is not defined by how I compare to others. It is defined by how I choose to show up every day. It's also important to establish boundaries, even with family. If these kinds of remarks become a pattern, it's worth having a calm but direct conversation. You could say, "I know you didn't mean any harm, but comparisons like that don't feel helpful." Setting boundaries isn't about being confrontational, it's about protecting your peace. Another practical shift in mindset. Instead of seeing comparisons as personal attacks, use them as opportunities to reaffirm your own goals. Ask yourself, am I on the path that aligns with my values and aspirations? If the answer is yes, then it doesn't matter where others are or what they've achieved. Life isn't a race. It's a journey measured by your own standards, not someone else's. Here's an exercise to try. The next time you're hit with a comparison, visualize your life as a unique path, winding through a forest. Some paths may cross, others may run parallel for a time, but no two journeys are identical. What matters is not how fast you travel, but how mindfully you walk your path. Each step, no matter how small, contributes to the person you are becoming. In the end, comparisons are like mirrors reflecting back what others value, not what you should value. The real question isn't whether you're keeping up with someone else. The question is, are you becoming the person you want to be? Stay true to your journey and let the noise of comparison fade into the background. Number 4. Absent when needed. What do you do when the people you've supported suddenly disappear when you need them most? Let's revisit Sarah's story. After working overtime and sacrificing her personal time to cover for her colleague David during a major project, Sarah now finds herself facing a tight deadline on a new report. The task is overwhelming. It requires more data sources than she initially anticipated, and completing it alone seems impossible. So, she reaches out to David, hoping for some support. But instead of stepping up, David claims he's tied up with another assignment and conveniently disappears, leaving Sarah to manage everything on her own. His excuse is plausible, but Sarah knows deep down, David's absence isn't about being busy, it's about avoiding responsibility. This situation feels all too familiar. We pour ourselves into supporting others, only to find ourselves alone when it's our turn to ask for help. David's behavior isn't just inconvenient, it's a betrayal of professional camaraderie. And worse, it sends a message: your needs are not important. So how should Sarah respond? Stoicism teaches us that the actions of others are beyond our control, but our response is not. Epictetus wrote, "When a person does something, it's because it seemed right to them." It is our job to consider how we respond, not to pass judgment. David's behavior reflects his character, not Sarah's worth. Instead of focusing on his absence, Sarah must decide how to move forward, calmly, deliberately, and with clarity. In moments like these, it's natural to feel frustrated, even resentful. But clinging to those emotions is like holding a hot coal. It only burns you. Stoicism offers Sarah a way out of the frustration by shifting her focus from what she can't control, David's actions, to what she can, her own strategy for handling the report. Practically, this means taking a step back, reassessing her plan, and deciding how best to proceed without relying on David. Maybe that means delegating smaller tasks to other colleagues or communicating openly with her manager about the difficulties she's facing. It's not about complaining. It's about finding a solution that ensures the project gets done while maintaining her integrity and peace of mind. The lesson here isn't just about work. It's about setting boundaries. David's absence highlights the importance of not overextending yourself for people who don't reciprocate. Going forward, Sarah can decide to adjust her expectations and protect her energy. The next time David, or anyone else, asks for her help, she'll have the wisdom to evaluate. Is this someone who will show up when I need them, or will they disappear again? This is not about becoming cynical or closing yourself off. It's about recognizing patterns and being intentional with your time and effort. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Sarah's strength lies in learning from this experience and using it to make better decisions in the future. Here's a practical approach for Sarah and anyone in a similar situation. When faced with overwhelming tasks, build a support system of colleagues who have proven their reliability. At the same time, develop the habit of open communication. Let your manager know about challenges early, rather than trying to shoulder the entire burden. And most importantly, practice saying no when necessary. Your time and energy are limited resources. Spend them wisely. In the end, David's absence is a reminder, not a setback. It teaches Sarah that her value isn't tied to others' actions. She has the power to navigate difficult situations independently and with grace. Life will always have people like David, those who disappear when things get tough. But with the wisdom of Stoicism, Sarah can remain steady, knowing that her peace lies not in whether others show up, but in how she chooses to respond. Number 5. Guilt tripping. What do you owe to others, and what do you owe to yourself? Picture this. You're at a quiet cafe on a Sunday afternoon, hoping to unwind after a long week. Just as you take a sip of your coffee, your phone buzzes with a message from an old friend. It's one of those requests you've heard before. Can you help me with something? I'm in a bind. You pause, knowing that the last few times you helped, it left you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. Politely, you respond saying, "I'm sorry, but I've already made plans today." Instead of understanding, the reply comes quickly. "I guess I was wrong to think I could count on you, after everything I've done for you." Suddenly, the familiar weight of guilt settles on your shoulders. It's as if your friend has handed you an invisible backpack filled with stones, responsibilities, emotional debts, and obligations you never agreed to carry. And if you're not careful, that weight can become overwhelming, dragging you down into resentment and self-doubt. This is the essence of guilt tripping, making you feel responsible for someone else's happiness, actions, or misfortunes. The Stoics remind us that the key to a virtuous life lies in understanding what is and isn't within our control. As Epictetus teaches, no one can make you feel anything unless you allow it. Guilt trippers thrive on manipulating emotions, twisting kindness into obligation, and using relationships as leverage. But Stoicism offers a path out of this trap by recognizing that while you can offer help and compassion, you are not responsible for how others respond to it. Guilt tripping is like quicksand. The more you struggle to justify yourself, the deeper you sink. The antidote is clarity and boundaries. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of genuine kindness or because I feel pressured to meet someone else's expectations? If it's the latter, it's time to pause and realign your actions with your values. Helping others should never come at the cost of your peace and well-being. In situations like these, the Stoic response is calm but firm. Instead of engaging in the emotional tug-of-war, respond with kindness and clarity. I understand you're in a tough spot, but I have my own commitments to take care of today. You don't need to apologize for prioritizing your time. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for preserving your energy and mental peace. It's also helpful to recognize that guilt tripping often comes from a place of insecurity or dependence on the part of the other person. While their behavior may not be fair, it's important to approach the situation without hostility. Stoicism teaches us that we don't control how others behave, only how we respond. Treat their guilt tripping as information, an insight into their expectations and your role in the relationship. Then decide how you want to move forward. A practical exercise. The next time someone tries to guilt trip you, visualize a sturdy fence around your emotions, one that keeps guilt out and lets only genuine kindness in. When you encounter manipulative behavior, remind yourself, I am responsible for my actions, not for how others feel about them. Just as a lighthouse stands firm against the waves, you can stay grounded amidst the emotional tides others send your way. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about knowing your limits and protecting your peace. Life is too short to live under the weight of obligations you never agreed to carry. Choose to give from a place of abundance, not out of guilt or pressure. In doing so, you'll preserve not only your well-being, but also the integrity of your relationships. Number 6. Only there for favors. How do you feel when someone treats your friendship like an ATM, only showing up when they need to make a withdrawal? Imagine this. You're at home on a rainy Saturday morning, sipping your coffee and enjoying the quiet. Your phone buzzes. It's an old friend you haven't heard from in months. They skip the small talk and jump straight into the reason for their call. Hey, I'm in a bit of a situation. Do you think you could help me move some furniture today? You hesitate, caught off guard. The last time you needed a favor, help setting up for a family event, they were too busy to lift a finger. Yet here they are now, full of flattery and friendliness, because they need something from you. This isn't just a casual request. It's a pattern you've noticed. They're only around when they need something. When things are going smoothly for them, they disappear like a ship sailing over the horizon. But the moment they hit rough waters, you're the first person they call, expecting your immediate assistance. Situations like these can be frustrating, leaving you feeling used and unappreciated. Stoicism offers us a lens to see these interactions with clarity. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The truth is, you can't control how others behave, but you can decide how much access they have to your time and energy. When someone treats you like a tool for their convenience, it's important to ask yourself, am I helping because I want to or because I feel obligated? Stoicism teaches us to act with intention. Helping others is a virtue, but only when it comes from a place of genuine kindness, not from guilt or manipulation. Giving should never leave you feeling resentful or depleted. Here's where boundaries come in. If you notice someone only reaches out when they need something, it's a sign that the relationship might be unbalanced. That doesn't mean you have to cut them off entirely. It means learning to say no with grace when their requests begin to drain you. Think of your energy like a battery. It needs time to recharge, and you have to be mindful of where you spend it. If you give too much to those who only take, there will be nothing left for yourself or for the people who truly matter. The next time someone like this calls with a favor, take a moment to pause. Instead of rushing to say yes out of habit, reflect. Is this a request I want to fulfill, or am I doing this to keep the peace? If it's the latter, practice saying no politely but firmly. I'm sorry, I won't be able to help today. No further explanation is needed. A true friend will respect your boundaries. Someone who doesn't might not have your best interests at heart. Another way to approach these relationships is to test the waters. The next time you see this person, ask them for a small favor in return. Their response will tell you everything you need to know. Do they suddenly become unavailable, or do they step up and offer support? This exercise isn't about playing games, it's about understanding whether the relationship is one-sided. Stoicism encourages us to surround ourselves with people who align with our values, those who respect our boundaries and contribute to our well-being. Relationships should be mutual, like a dance where both partners share the rhythm. If one person is always leading while the other drags their feet, eventually the dance falls apart. In the end, the choice is yours. You can continue to give to those who only show up when they need something, or you can be mindful of where you invest your time and energy. Letting go of unbalanced relationships isn't selfish. It's a way of creating space for healthier, more meaningful connections. And with each boundary you set, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with the person you are becoming. Number 7. Lack of empathy. How do you feel when you bare your soul, only to be met with a cold, indifferent stare? Imagine this. You're at a restaurant with a group of close acquaintances, enjoying a meal together. It's been a difficult week for you. Work has been overwhelming and personal challenges have piled up. Hoping for a moment of relief, you decide to open up. You share a bit about the stress you've been under, expecting at least a kind word or a listening ear. But as soon as you finish, one person at the table waves it off with a dismissive chuckle. You think, that's tough? Let me tell you what I've been dealing with, they say, launching into a story about their own minor inconvenience. Your words are left hanging in the air, unacknowledged and unimportant. We've all experienced this, moments when we hoped for empathy, but were met with indifference. It's like reaching out for a hand in the dark, only to grasp at empty air. Their lack of empathy not only hurts, but also makes you feel invisible, as if your struggles aren't worth noticing. These experiences are draining, leaving you wondering, why do I keep investing in relationships where my feelings are ignored? Stoicism offers us insight in moments like these. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The behavior of others is beyond your control. What is within your control is how you choose to interpret their actions and what meaning you attach to them. Their lack of empathy says more about their limitations than it does about your worth. The Stoic approach encourages us to temper our expectations of others. Not everyone has the capacity to understand or care about our struggles, and that's okay. Expecting empathy from those who cannot give it is like expecting water from a dry well. It only leaves you feeling thirsty. Instead, the key is to build emotional resilience, knowing that your sense of peace and self-worth does not depend on the acknowledgement of others. So, how should you respond the next time one dismisses your emotions? First, pause and remind yourself, their reaction does not define me. Take a step back mentally and observe the situation from a distance. Their indifference isn't about you. It's a reflection of where they are emotionally. This perspective allows you to stay calm, unshaken by their behavior. Next, consider setting boundaries. If you repeatedly encounter dismissive behavior from certain individuals, it may be time to distance yourself from those relationships. Stoicism teaches us to invest our energy in what nourishes us, not in what drains us. Relationships, like gardens, need mutual care to thrive. If the balance of give and take is missing, it's okay to step back and protect your peace. Here's a practical exercise. Whenever you feel disappointed by someone's lack of empathy, take a moment to journal your thoughts. Ask yourself, what did I need from this interaction, and how can I provide that for myself? By identifying your own needs, you begin to rely less on external validation and more on your inner resources. This practice builds emotional self-sufficiency, empowering you to handle life's challenges with grace. In the end, not everyone will meet you with empathy, and that's okay. Stoicism reminds us that the goal is not to control others, but to cultivate our own inner strength. Like a tree standing firm through changing seasons, your peace does not depend on the weather around you, but on the roots you plant within yourself. Choose to spend your time with those who uplift and support you, and let the rest fall away, like leaves in autumn, no longer needed for your growth. Through this lens, every experience, whether filled with empathy or not, becomes an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. You may not always find the kindness you seek in others, but you can always offer it to yourself. And in that self-kindness lies the true essence of peace.